It was in the fall that Mr. Fitz asked Clara if he could store something at her home. Clara, ever the obedient employee, said of course. She knew better than to ask questions of Mr. Fitz, or his reasons for bringing it, or what it might be. And so that night when he rang, Clara opened the door and let him in. In his hands was a trunk, an old leather box with big heavy straps. He walked straight through the door, down the stairs, and took the trunk into the cellar. When he returned, he did not thank her. He simply stepped out the door and went on his way. Days later, Mr. Fitz died. The old man's death was rather unexpected, and Clara helped arrange for his son to take over the business. A fortnight or two passed before Clara was down in the cellar again. As she stepped past the furnace, she heard a sound. She looked and saw the trunk tucked into the deepest, darkest corner. She rang Mr. Fitz's son immediately and told him of the trunk. "Oh no," said the young man. "Clara was perfectly welcome to keep the trunk for herself." With a nervous laugh, the young Mr. Fitz hung up the phone. Clara returned to the cellar. Slowly, she creeped toward the corner where the trunk sat. She could see it poking out of the darkness, but she couldn't bring herself to step closer and peer inside. That night, Clara dreamed. She dreamed that she was called down to the cellar, something drawing her, something forcing her legs to walk. When she reached the corner, there was no trunk. Instead, an imp with a mischievous smile stepped out of the darkness. He said nothing as his tentacle reached across the room toward her. Clara woke abruptly and heard a sound. A slithering, a withering. Her eyes were open, but she dared not look down. Frozen in fear, she stared at the ceiling for what must have been hours, until a ray of sunlight poked through the curtains and chased her fears away. She fled the house for the comfort of the day, but found that while the sun shone and the birds chirped, she could feel a presence watching her, following her, everywhere she went. She rushed home and down the steps to the back corner of the cellar. Whatever it was inside the trunk that was tormenting her, she had to know what it was. She reached down and touched the trunk's lid. With no heirs of her own, the contents of Clara's home went up for auction. Somewhere in an auction house sat the trunk, just an old leather box with big, heavy straps.